Hi, yes, hello, welcome back. I'm feeling great today. I hope everybody else is feeling amazing too. I know it's still early in the week, but fingers crossed, it feels like it can be a really good one. Okay, so today we're gonna do more nonsense, more chaos, right along the lines of everything else that I always put out with you guys. So let's jump right in. This week, I want to show you guys real life examples of how I put the advice that I say, how I put the lessons that I say into action. So these are all examples. I'm going to show you screenshots. I'm going to walk you through things that people have sent to me, messages, issues that they're having, and advice that I've been giving them. And a lot of it is things that I have been saying in the videos, but I want to show you guys how it is used in each individual case, because the advice that I give, I really like it to be broad enough that it can be used in a number of different circumstances in a number of different situations. And I want to show you guys how this plays out. These are in no particular order, just kind of whatever was easiest for me to get out, or however it was easiest to make it make sense, because we're really just taking really small portions of a bigger kind of storyline here. And of course, I have asked permission from everybody involved, from everybody that I've pulled the screenshots from. I am still, however, going to block out as much personal detail as I can, just to keep everything as safe as possible. So let's jump into the first example. So in this case, the issue is there's a block, and we're not really sure where the block is, but we know the block is preventing us from getting to information that we want, from finding the spirits that we want. It's preventing us from moving in the direction that we want. So we figured out that the block is fear-based, and we kind of got a general idea of where the fear is based, but we don't really know what it is or how it's holding on, how it's latched in. We don't really know what the fear is and how it's connected to the story. So as you can see, the first thing that I gave her, the first option is, how do we want to do this? Are you ready to go into this fear yet? Because if somebody has a block that is fear, if you push them into that block before they are ready to deal with that fear is just going to compound. That fear is just going to get bigger, and it's going to become a bigger block, of course. So we never are going to push somebody before they are ready. And that is true in human spirit circumstances everywhere, right? Like, we want to help somebody get to the point where they are ready. So first I ask her, hey, what do you want to do? Are you ready to jump into this fear? Do you want to gather more information first? Because if you're not ready to jump into that fear, gathering information, gathering knowledge is one of the best ways that you can help combat that fear, because information is key. Information tells you what you're dealing with. Information makes the unknown a little bit more known, and that makes it a little bit more less scary. So we want more information. We want to know what we're dealing with. We want to take some of that unknown. We want to make it known, and we want to make it a little bit less scary. And in doing this, we're also going to help pinpoint exactly where that block is. So we're doing two things, right? We're making it less scary. Prime, number one, that's what we're focusing on. But at the same time, we're helping to get to our goal. So all of the shadow work that we are doing is still helping us get to our goal. And that is my favorite kind of shadow work, the kind that actually is in the way of what you want at this very moment. And that's my favorite kind of shadow work, because shadow work is something that is a lifelong process, but we shouldn't be doing it 24/7. We have to rest also. So I like the shadow work that is coming up when it's in the way of my goal, because that tells me that shadow work is relevant right now. That tells me that shadow work is what I need to do to get to my goal. And it also allows me a period of rest, a period of, once I've reached my goal, I can rest in that goal. I can be proud of myself. I'm not immediately being pushed forward to the next thing, which sometimes still happens. Of course, we have all of the stuff going on at once, but if we can take a rest between our shadow works while we've reached our goal, that's ideal, right? So in this example, my screen is over here, so why I keep looking away from the camera. In this example, we figured out that the block was coming from some sort of justice system feeling. And that could be a lot of different things. I am not super well versed in the spirit justice system. So there's a lot of things that can be at play. Some things that I've personally encountered include fates, judges, rulebook / binder, which I actually talked about in one of the God stories. And then just some other random stuff that I felt like maybe wouldn't be relevant in this case, but we still always want to offer an option of other than what we've listed, because we want to make sure there's room in our brain for what we don't know. So if something is coming up and I don't have the words for it, I've never encountered it before, I don't know what it is at all, I can just say other. And spirit can help me put these things in categories to see where I need to focus my energy. If I know that I know this judge, right? I know the justice system in this spirit area, right? Because everything operates in weird It's all location based, it's all vibration based. I don't know how to explain it right now. We'll get to that in another video maybe. But I know how the justice system works over here in spirit, right? And so I can maybe put some stuff in that category, and then we can check in and we can say, hey, does this justice system elicit that fear? Does that fear come when we talk about this? When we talk about it, when we pull it in, is that energy matching this justice system? And we can say yes or no. And if it is, perfect. We found where the block is. If it's not, we can go over here. We can talk more about the rule book / binder. We can try to ask spirit about it. We can put all of these things into different categories. And again, what that does is it gives us information. It makes the unknown a little bit more known, and it helps pinpoint exactly where we need to be focusing our energy to get to our goals. Next up, we have some of the most annoying advice that I give. And I know it's annoying. I annoy myself with this advice because it's literally just waiting. Sometimes we have to let that energy settle. And I say this all of the time to people, and I remind myself about it, and I get mad at myself when I remind myself about it, because it is so hard to just wait. It is so hard to just relax into that energy sometimes. But it is so important. There are so many reasons why we might need to let that energy settle, why we might need to just take a beat and let things kind of just come in the way they need to come in. So in this example, we're talking specifically about when we get like upgrades in our bodies and things like that. Now, before I jump into this, I had somebody ask me the other day what I meant by upgrades. So let me talk about that really quick, so we're all on the same page. I'm so glad they asked. Please ask me your questions. I love them. They make my life so much easier. Upgrades is another umbrella term. It's a term that I use to kind of signify normally your physical human body, but sometimes your astral body. Spirit can for sure get upgrades too. We've seen that happening a lot with our new earth vibration. But typically when I say upgrades, a lot of times I'm referencing our human body and just being able to hold more than we could before. And if it's in spirit, the spirit body can get upgrades and it can hold more than it could before. What am I talking about when I say hold more? Like, what are we holding though? Now, please remember, I have been doing this for a minute and I have seen some wild upgrades, and I'm just going to give you guys some examples. Most often we're talking about knowledge. We can hold more knowledge in our brain. Maybe you just like couldn't understand this spirit concept before, and then all of a sudden you could. You probably got an upgrade. So we're talking knowledge, we're talking energy, power. We're able to pull more in, we're able to hold more on our human body, we're able to do more on the human realm, or we're able to like astral project farther, right? Like our human body can hold more. Sometimes it's actually holding really specific things. Sometimes upgrades hold certain like defense systems, they hold certain weaponry, they hold certain like armor. Sometimes you get like upgraded communication. If you are trying to talk to like a really specific being or something really far away, sometimes you'll get an upgrade so that you can build that energy bridge, so that you can reach them better. So upgrades are just a very general umbrella term that I use to mean getting more, holding more, being expanded, anything along those lines. Okay, let's go back to our example. So in this specific case, we're talking about holding more information, holding new information, right? So this person has been doing their work. They've been doing their shadow work. They've been doing their spirit work. They've been doing their like dedicated spirit time. They've been doing all of the things, and they are getting new information, and it is fantastic. And what happens is when we get on a roll with spirit and when we get going and we're like, yes, this is great, this is everything that I want it to be, and then you have to pause for a second, you're like, I don't want to pause. I've waited for this. I've worked for this. I want to keep going. And that pause is so hard. And so sometimes we have to remind each other, we have to gently remind each other in the community, because I know this person knows. This person is fantastic. But we just need reminding. I have to remind myself, other people have to remind me. We just have to take a pause. That information needs to come in. It needs to find a place to, we'll call it settle in our body. It needs to find a place to put the hooks in so it's not just going to get lost. It needs to find a place to be stored. Like, I'm just using a whole bunch of words to kind of mean the same thing. Whatever is working for you to get that image in your brain, roll with that, right? But we need to just let it settle. We need to just let it be for a second. We need to let it do what it's designed to do. We need to give our team a chance to do the things that they're supposed to do. So normally I will say 24 hours for if an upgrade is going to come in, give it 24 hours. Just wait a day. See if anything changes. Typically it changes within 24 hours if it's just like a typical upgrade. I don't even want to say typical upgrades because they're all so unique and they're all so fantastic. But 24 hours is a great rule. Let things settle for 24 hours. Just chill out for a minute. It is so hard, but it is so important. Okay, here is another example of me just being like, hey, let's just wait a minute. Now, I really went back and forth on if I was going to include this bottom part that she responded back to me. Because that is A, it's very personal, and B, again, I really, really hate putting anything out that is going to elicit fear. However, shit goes wrong sometimes, and I want to validate that. I want to validate that spirit can be messy for some people, and that it is not cut and dry, and that it can be really, really difficult sometimes. And so I'm including this simply for the fact that I don't want you guys to feel alone if this is your experience. I don't talk about stuff like this very publicly. I keep it, personal, case by case. Things are messy sometimes, guys, and I don't have all of the answers, and I want you to see that I'm okay not having the answers. But I do still want to help even when I don't. So here's an example of that. I am an advocate for the human, right? So if you come to me and you have what you think is a fucked up spirit team, I'm going to advocate on your behalf to spirit. And so that's kind of what the situation was here. I was doing the best that I can. I was helping the best that I could to advocate for her for spirit. And we were trying to get her team situated. We were trying to get everybody involved situated. And she had all of this changing happening. And guys, she has had change happening like left and right for months now. It is overwhelming. It is a mess. And I sympathize so much with the situation. I understand that I've been in messy situations myself. But sometimes we still just have to let it settle. And it is the most annoying, most frustrating advice that I give. But guys, especially in this case, like, we just have to give spirit time to do what they're going to do. We can't jump in and be like, this isn't right, this isn't good, this isn't great, this isn't what I wanted, if we haven't allowed them time to do what their job is, right? So we have to give them the opportunity to do their job before we jump in, before we start making changes, because we just have to let the energy settle. This one is a little bit different, but it still technically qualifies as just letting the energy rest. And sometimes the energy is you. You need to also rest. And I think that we very much, as a society, especially in a capitalistic society like America, like the United States, we need to rest. And we are not taught how to rest. We're not taught why we need to rest. And it is very, very important on so many levels why we rest. So let me talk about these specifics that I have seen over the past few days. Honestly, we've been getting really, really big signs. A lot of people have been getting really, really big signs that it's time to rest, that we need to sit down and we need to take a break and we need to not grind 24/7. So let's talk about that really quick. So for me personally, I have learned eventually that if everything is making me angry, no matter what I am doing, I need to just sit down and stop. I need to rest. There is something in me, be it my body, be it my mind, be it my spirit, be it my higher self, be it whatever. There's something in me that is telling me to stop. And I understand we have human lives. I understand we have responsibilities. I'm a mom. I have God knows how many responsibilities. Every other mom, every other parent feels it. So like, we can't always just be like, nah, I'm going to rest today. And we can talk about strategies and things like that another time. We can talk about resources for that. But sometimes you just do the bare minimum and you rest. And what I have learned is that if I have found the balance between the bare minimum, which for me typically means a clear surface, either a counter or a table, clean dishes that I can operate the sink, I don't have to like move dirty dishes out of the way to rinse something, and just general food that is available. So those are my three, like, I have to do every single day. And then if I'm having a day where I'm like, I will implode on myself, I will make myself rest. And the trick, guys, the trick is to not feel bad that you're resting. The trick is to rest with intention. You are resting so that you don't feel angry the rest of the week, or at least me, right? I am taking today off, or maybe tomorrow too, so that I can hit, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday strong. I can hit it and I can go and I can get the stuff done. And I have learned that when I am well rested and well energized, because I took yesterday off, guys, I've learned that when I'm doing it, it flows. I get so much more done. I am so much more excited. I make so much more of an impact. It's easier. And guys, it's faster. So in this example, I talk about what I've learned about myself. I talk about my cues for when I need to rest. And this person happens to be we have a very similar energy. We are very similar, like, we get each other. And so I had a feeling that it was going to be similar for her too. And as you can see, I was right. Spirit helped me out with that one. But guys, this is not going to be everybody's sign. This is the way that my body gives me signs. This is the way my body has learned that I can finally pay attention to it, right? And so your signs are going to be different than my signs. What you need to do might be different than what I need to do. But please pay attention. Start making notes. Start paying attention to what you're feeling, to yourselves, to all of these subconscious signals that we're getting, so that we can really utilize not just the energy and not just the time we have, but our existence, if that makes sense. Like we can utilize our existence when we give ourselves the rest and when we go with the flow. Let's talk about the Lisa Frank dogs now. I have seen Lisa Frank-esque kind of animals before, but I don't have more information on that. So when somebody sent me this picture, because you guys know me, I do best with a picture, connecting to the energies to just get information easiest, right? So she sent me a picture, says that, hey, I saw these dogs ish kind of right before I went to bed. So two things I want to check right off the bat. I want to know if this is a kind of dream-esque filter that they're doing, or if this is a spirit that was actually coming, a being that was coming. And because when we're about to fall asleep, our brain waves are a little bit different, so different beings can reach us. We can reach different areas, things like that. So I want to know, is this like a dream filter that kind of started early? Because sometimes that happens, you know, you're like in between awake and asleep. Or is this like a being that is coming and wanting to communicate? Dreams can be a really tricky one because they are a beast in themselves. Like I have such little information about how dreams work because they are just wild. But I do know that typically when a being comes to us in a dream and it's a being and not a filter, they are going to feel different than our quote unquote typical dreams. Maybe you guys can in the comments back me up on this. I have had dreams that feel like dreams. I've had dreams that fit, you know, like the psychology of dreams. And then I've had dreams that don't fit nothing. I have had dreams that are absolutely insane and they feel completely different. When I think about them in my memory, they feel different than the dreams that were very, you know, psychology 101. And when I think about the being, I can almost feel more of a connection there versus my normal dreams. They feel kind of flat when I think about certain players, beings, whatever. And so I want to know what they feel like. I want to know, do these Lisa Frank dogs, do they feel human? Do they feel like a human dream? Do they feel like a human dog? Do they feel flat? Or do they feel more? I want to know if there's something about them that feels not like a regular dream, you know, not like your Sigmund and Freud dreams. Okay, this next one I didn't bother taking a screenshot for because I have used it so many times. This is probably my go to when I don't know what else to do. And that is to ask the exact quote unquote wording. So let me explain that for a second. I've talked about the wording in my videos before because it can be so important. Some spirits, not all of them, some spirits can be such a stickler for the wording, and also they use wording to kind of like quote unquote get you off of their tail, right? Like if you are like, hey, I know I'm onto something, I want you to tell me, I want to figure it out, and they're like, you can't know yet, they'll use the wording to kind of like throw you off their scent almost. So wording is so important. When somebody comes to me and they give me something, they give me things all the time, guys. I don't know it all. I know very little. People give me things and I have no idea what to do with them. My first initial instinct is always to say, I need your exact wording. I need to know specifically, word for word, to the best of your ability, what you asked spirit and how they responded. Now, I get that spirit doesn't speak words to everybody. That's completely fine. Sometimes spirit gives me images or emotions, and that is fine. You can still be very literal with your answers. So let me just give you the chaos that is my life, right? That is my spirit life right now. I have a question for spirit. There's something in the back. There's something in the woods. I don't know what it is. I would like to know what it is. My question is, hey spirit, what's back there? Right? I specifically asked what's back there. I didn't say what's back there in the woods. I didn't add it. I said, hey spirit, what's back there? Right? So really quick, problem with that question is I did not define where back there is, and I did not define what I'm looking for. But I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. I can't get an answer. Spirit, what's back there? I don't get an answer, right? So I want to very literally say, hey, spirit, what's back there? And then I'm going to write down, I didn't get a response, because here's the thing. Not getting a response is a response. Not getting anything tells me what direction to look in. I did not define what I am looking for, and I did not define where it is. I just said back there, right? And so the fact that I didn't get a response tells me a few things. It tells me I'm not asking the right questions, or I'm not asking the right being, or I'm not able to reach the right being, right? If spirit were to respond, oh yeah, that's the Bigfoot, that's completely different, right? So if I say, hey, spirits, what's back there? And I hear, oh yeah, that's the Bigfoot, or I see an image of the Bigfoot, now I'm gonna know, check with the Bigfoot. Let me look in the Bigfoot direction. But here's the thing, right? I didn't define what I'm looking for. So Bigfoot being an answer is them still technically telling me the truth. And another thing that I learned from them giving me an answer is either what I am looking at is not important, or they're trying to throw me off the scent, right? And so Obviously, I don't have an answer just based off those two questions, but that's the kind of game that the game, don't call it a game, Spirit didn't like that, but that's the kind of game I play with Spirit, right? I try to ask these questions and I look at the response or the lack of response, and I look at the wording or the lack of wording, and it helps me figure out what direction to look in. It's a long process, guys. If you guys are on the Discord, I am just fucking around and finding out with Spirit left and right here. You don't have to do as I do. Again, I don't know if it's good advice or not. You guys decide, but wording is so important, and writing down very specifically what you ask with the answer, and then changing one, maybe two words with your question and writing down the answer again. It's a tedious process, guys, but it is a game changer when you are stuck. It tells you what direction to look in. Here's another one that I debated back and forth on if I was going to include or not, because it is really personal. And I asked her, and she was like, yes, please help as many people as you can with this, which I so much appreciate, because that is why I started making videos, because I didn't want people to go through the nonsense with Spirit that I went through, and she doesn't want people to go through the nonsense that she's having to go through either. But I wanted to include this one because this one actually made me really, really happy. Obviously not that she's going through the nonsense, but the first line, hey, Rebecca, that energy is being weird. This is her doing everything that I am always saying. This is her reaching out to her community. This is her talking about what is going on so that she can get advice, so that she doesn't feel alone, so that she can have some sort of help carrying this weight and figuring this out. So please check in. Please check in with your community, check in with your other spiritual friends, check in here, check in on the Discord, check in on TikTok. See what the energies are doing. See what's going on. See if this is typical behavior, or if this is something that is specific to you, or it's happening to everybody. The other part about this message that made me so happy was the last lines. She goes, is Spirit being particularly weird for everyone right now, or is this just my usual flavor of weird? And the answer was yes. Just yes, it is being this weird for everybody, and it is still weird, specific to her weird. And I really love that, because it offers room for us to understand each other and to help each other and to carry each other's, weight and nonsense from Spirit. It helps us to be a community with each other without needing to one for one be going through exactly the same thing, because it is being weird for everybody right now, but it is also being weird specific to your energy, specific to your story, specific to where you are from, where you're going, and how everything is interacting with you. So I loved just this message having so many different advice and concepts and things coming together in one. And I really wanted to share it with you guys, to encourage you guys to send each other messages like this, like, yo, what is going on? Please help me. Am I crazy? Do I need to cleanse? Do I need to kick a coconut around my house and scream to get the bad energies out? Like, what do I need to do? Please just help me feel a little bit less insane. And guys, this is exactly what I hope people are doing. And this is exactly how I hope you guys are reaching out, just being like, yo, please help me, and helping to carry the crazy with each other. My last piece of advice for this video, which I don't have a screenshot for because it's my advice to myself. It is what I have been doing. It's what I've been telling myself to do, and it is what I've been trying to do with my community. And I mentioned it in my other video, but it's making lists. I have been trying to make lists and to compare what I know with what I think I know, and just expand my knowledge with this being that I have just started calling the Radio Demon, because I don't know who they are. And there's a show with a character called the Radio Demon, and it kind of reminded me of this being, and so I've started calling it that. So let me explain to you, let me just let you into the nonsense that's in my brain for a second, because it's not something that I would typically talk about on an open platform, on a public platform, but I love the community that you guys are on this Patreon. It feels very safe. It feels very trusting. You guys have helped me out a ton, just as much as I have helped you. And so I'm just going to share a little bit, because Spirit says it's time. You guys might have heard me say here and there that we need to check with our own team, and we need to check with our own realities, because we all can live in different realities. And without getting into what that means, I want to give you an example of how that can play out in situations like we've been talking about with the rest of the examples in this video. A few years ago, I spent a really long time with Spirit trying to understand just kind of the planes of existence that existed around Earth, right? So I'm asking questions like, hey, does heaven exist? Does hell exist? What's it like? What's the underworlds like? What is the beings adjacent to heaven like? Like, I'm asking about kind of just the sphere around Earth. And at the time, I got a very limited information, not necessarily about hell, but about the underworld. And so the way that the information was coming in was mainly about the underworld, and it was associated with the beings that I was working with at the time. And so the underworld was where my focus was, and I didn't really get information about hell. So to me, in my reality, with the way that I was existing, hell was over here and the underworld was over here. So that's where I was. I was good with that. We don't need to know it all. We don't need to do it all, right? However, with the radio demon, the word demon typically implies hell. So I'm like, hey, let's take another little double check at what hell is. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if anything has changed. And to nobody's surprise, absolutely everything had changed. Energy is existing in a way that it was not able to exist for us as humans before. Now, it existed like that, of course, but for us as humans, it wasn't compatible. It wasn't able to coexist together. We did not have access to this type of energy. So the way that I've been seeing this play out the most is finding almost like portals within energy, and they're not actually portals, but I'm just going to use that term to kind of make it easiest to understand as possible. So if I go into somebody's energy and I find, a story of a Fey realm in there, I can go into that story and be in the Fey realm, kind of like a portal. And again, that's way oversimplified. Please take that to your spirit team. But that is the kind of change that we are seeing now. And right along the lines of that change, everything that I thought I knew about hell has also changed. There are more layers to it, there are more dimensions to it. I have access to hell in a way that I absolutely did not have access to it before. And I am trying to learn and understand not just what hell is, not just what it's used for, but its purpose, its structure, why it's there. And again, to nobody's surprise, I am pretty sure this is linked to whatever is holding me up with the radio demon, right? Because if the radio demon is trying to introduce himself, if he's trying to tell me his story, if he's trying to explain why he's here and who he is and how he's connected to me, probably hell has something to do with it. And I've gotten little signs here and there that is a big part of it. And so I'm trying to understand not just what it is, but also how it's changed. I want to really pinpoint everything that is different. And I am using really just nonsense seeming lists for it, but it's very, very helpful. And so, I'm writing down what hell used to be, the understanding that I've had it, what little information I was giving about it before. And I'm trying to find a spirit that more than one, a spirit that I trust, and also a spirit that has the information that I want. Maybe somebody that has, been assigned to explain these things to humans, because that happens sometimes. So I am trying to find more than one spirit that I trust to compare this information to, and to kind of take me down new rabbit holes and take me where I need to go, take me to what I need to understand and see, to make the connections of this mysterious radio demon and see what our history is and see what our story is that way. And of course, I have been recommending lists for other people as well. And something that's really cool is once you make that list, don't throw it away. Keep that list, because things change all of the time. Things are constantly changing. And if you have a running list, I have a running list of hell, of what I knew, of what's changed, when it changes again, because everything keeps changing, because we keep expanding, and I can't even explain to you how we're changing. It's so fantastic. We are doing big, big things, and it's going to keep changing. And so you're going to want to keep coming back to these lists. You're going to want to keep comparing, and you're going to want to keep growing your knowledge of not just what is changing and how it is now, but of why it's changing, and of if it exists somewhere else in the way that it used to. Because sometimes Spirit mentions Earth 1 and Earth 2. I'm just going to throw that out there. Ask your team, right? Sometimes the words Earth 2 pop up, and things exist in one version of Earth that don't exist in the other. And so we are able to not only expand the information that we're specifically looking for, we're able to offer cheat sheets to ourselves in the future when things change again, but we're also able to learn about things that are very far outside ourselves, that are very far outside what we understand as humans. And we can start to get really just fantastic grand ideas in our head of things that are outside what we can physically see right now. Okay, that is all I have for you today. I really, really hope that those examples and those questions help you make connections and help you feel a little less crazy and kind of make a little bit more sense of all the nonsense and spirit that is going on right now. And I say nonsense lovingly, because I get it. I get the chaos. I get the craziness. I get the nonsense. And I hope that these really, really help. Now, I want to also let you guys in on a little insider secret for how my Patreon and how my videos operate, since Spirit is letting me just like spill a little couple secrets right now. My videos are made, right? I ask Spirit all the time, like, hey, what should I make a video about? And a lot of times you guys can dictate what you want the videos about what you're asking. Not just what you're asking me. I love your questions. They make my life so much easier. But what you guys are asking Spirit, but what you guys are asking your team, Spirit kind of lets me know where you guys are at and how I can help you. And so the questions that you guys ask, be it out loud or in your head, are really, really important, not just for yourself, not just for your own kind of path that you're taking, but in general, in what I'm able to share with you and the places that I'm able to go with the videos and things like that. So I really, really want to encourage you guys, if nothing else, to just start asking as many questions as you can. Figure out what you want to know, find the path that you want to go down, find out what excites you, what interests you, what you really want to focus on, and just shoot off as many questions as you can into the universe, because you never ever know how they're going to answer you. And asking the most random, nonsensical questions can get you some of the most amazing, interesting information ever. So I want to encourage you guys to just ask as many questions. Do the but why, right? We talk about that all the time. But why, but why, but why? But why am I thinking this? But why am I doing that? But why do I feel that? But where did that come from? But why did that come from there, right? Ask as many questions as you can. And if you don't know what to ask but why. Let me know what questions you guys have in the comments so that I can sort through what our next video is going to be about. I'm really excited to figure it out with you guys. Please come see me at Sacred Spaces. I am so excited. Everybody is so excited. Tickets are still available, but I do think they're filling up pretty quick. Let me know if you guys are going to be there. Don't forget to find me. I have a special souvenir for everybody. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Best of luck with Spirit.